Today on the Ask Brady Show, we talk about overwhelmed creative ministries and disappointed other ministries and how to make everyone get along and be happy. Well, hey there! And welcome to the Ask Brady Show, episode number 37. We've got 4 great questions from the people of Pro Church Nation, and I'm joined as always to my left, your right, it is Roxanne.
It's true.
Behind the camera, the editing wizard himself, Joe Nex. And the man with the cam, Alex Mills.
Thanks. It's not really as special as it sounds because I work here, but I'm here.
Roxanne, take us away with the very first question.
All right. First question comes from Linnea. How do you promo missions trips? In the past, it has been normal for missions teams to get back from a trip, expect to be given a mic with unlimited time on stage during each to share about their trip. We want to hear the stories and the great things God is doing, but not every person who goes on a missions trip is an excellent speaker. Any thoughts?
Linnea, I like how you phrased your question. It says, it has been normal for missions teams to get back from a trip in the past and expect to be given a mic. It was also normal in the past to have Sunday mornings be the only real form of communication that your church had with your congregation. But with the advent of digital, living through this biggest communication shift in the last 500 years, that is no longer the case. So we don't have to do the things the way we used to do them because things are no longer the way they used to be. You now have primarily social media to get those stories out. You've got this full week, 167 hours, in fact, that you've got to fill time with. How do we accomplish the mission of our church, reach people throughout the week? Well, we can tell stories. Where do we get stories from? One of the best places is mission trips. And then when it comes to Sunday morning and actually, still getting that word out on a Sunday from stage, like you mentioned, at least alluded to, I love the option of video. It's one of the best ways that you can take something as visual as a mission trip and put it into a format that allows people to experience the mission trip even if they didn't go on it, right? Like, if you go on a mission trip, usually your life has changed. One of the reasons is simply because you're in a totally different place that you're not used to. The weather is different. The topography is different. The people are different. The culture is different. Maybe even the ethnicities are different. That's all visual. And capturing that in video or in photo and then putting that within a video is one of the best ways to really put your congregation in the place of a person that went on a mission trip, where they can be like, oh, that's what it was like. That's what it looked like. That's what it maybe felt like. And so I highly encourage you to use videos, to use photos. You can use social media throughout the week. Do a live video where you would take what you would normally have with someone walking up on stage and handing them the mic, and then you're right, they're not a good speaker, and they take up 10, 15 minutes, and then it's awkward, and then they take up someone else's time, and then the whole thing is bad, and you're like, why go on mission trips at all? It's not worth sitting through this on a Sunday morning. It's probably a bit extreme, but you could do something like that with just one person. Hey, Roxanne, you went on a mission trip. We're going to do a Facebook Live this week where we just want you to share one quick story of what happened. And now it's on Facebook Live. And in fact, probably if you're connected, your church is connected on Facebook the way that most churches are, where most churches have more likes on Facebook than they do have butts in the seats on a Sunday morning. More people could see that Facebook Live than would see it on a Sunday morning if they said the exact same thing. And in that case, if you frame it in that way, the person that's sharing their story might feel more inclined to do it. Hey, more people are actually going to hear it this way, and we want as many people to hear your story as possible. So number 1, leverage social and those 167 hours beyond your Sunday service. Number 2, put it into video and photo. Something as transformative and visual as a mission trip would really help and benefit from something like a visual representation of what it was like to be there. And third, just remember, we don't have to do things the way that we used to do them because things are no longer the way they used to be. So do your best to not get stuck and entrenched in that we've always done it X and be like, well, we also never got into Ubers. We also never bought things online. We also never rented homes from people on other sides of the world. We also never got mattresses sent to us in tiny boxes. We also never had vegetables and meal plans delivered straight to our house. We also never got into cars that autonomously drove us all around. That's still yet to come. We also used to buy CDs.
That's true.
Wow.
That is true.
Moving on. Next question.
All right. Question 2 comes from Dan. He says, I'm working on applying the pyramid model to a greeting ministry. How might you create a top level event or something else that could be pushed via an announcement to promote a greeting ministry, particularly if the current greeting ministry needs a shift in culture?
So what Dan is referring to here is basically a marketing or sales funnel. So we've taught it in the past within courses. We've called it a pyramid model, where basically at the bottom of the pyramid, you have your goal. Your goal is to have a fully integrated member of your church. A fully integrated member is someone who gives, who serves, who attends frequently, who is just part of the lifeblood of the church. Like when you think about the best people in your church, this is what that person would be.
Yeah.
You have to recognize that getting an individual or family to that position takes time. And it's not a linear necessarily, and it's definitely not an overnight single moment change where someone attends your church for the first time and is like, I have decided now to give 10% of my income forthcoming, volunteer twice a month, and attend every Sunday with my family. I'm also going to start inviting my friends and witnessing to my unsaved family. No, it's a process, right? Like no one would think that happens overnight. And yet, a lot of the time, the way that we do promotions, communications, and the way that we strategize and work through our assimilation strategies kind of expects that is what would happen. So what we want to do is think of it like a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid is where you want them to end up eventually, kind of the end goal. And at the top and everything else in the middle are different stages where they're periodically, progressively moving towards that end goal. So the top has got to be the easiest way of making a commitment. So we like to think of this as a top level event. So think of it like a kids or a fall festival. This is one. A fall festival, where a fall festival is something that's entirely for your people in your community, right? You're not asking anything of them except to come and experience an amazing time with their friends and family. It's very easy for someone to say, yes, I'll come to a fall festival, especially if it's affordable or even better, free for many churches. Yes, because I want to have my kids experience that. I want them to get some candy. I want to have a fun time. That would be a top level event. And then from there, what you would do is at the fall festival, you would say something like, hey, this is part of our kids ministry, and we'd love to have your kids be involved in this. And then you get them to that one big event, and then you get them involved in kids ministry. And then from there, you would say, hey, parents of kids, you've seen how positively your kids have been affected by kids ministry. We need volunteers. How would you like to be a part of that? And now they've already experienced this amazing event. They've got their kids going regularly. These are the type of the people that are much more likely to volunteer for kids ministry because they've been positively impacted by it, and they're more likely to say yes. And that's like, the second from the bottom level of the pyramid, and the very bottom one is where they are volunteering frequently. Now they're giving. Now they're a fully integrated member of the church. And it all started with a fall festival. So how would you do this for greeters ministry? Because we think that you can do this for anything within your church, any ministry, anything where you want something from your people, you can get it from them using this model. Because what this model does is it forces you to give first, and then get something, then make that ask. This is the Gary Vaynerchuk jab, right hook model. This is the classic marriage advice where you deposit and then you withdraw, where it's an analogy for money, like a bank account. If all you ever do is withdraw from your bank account, eventually you will have an overdraft fee. You will have no money. You'll be broke. You'll live on the street. You have to both deposit into your bank account and withdraw. Similarly to marriage, it's a two-way relationship. You got to deposit, and then withdraw. Both directions. Same with your relationship with your church. You can't just ask them for all this stuff. Hey, volunteer. Hey, give your money. Hey, come every single week. Wait a minute. All I'm doing is giving to the church. What am I getting from the church? Hey, you're getting a sweet message. Okay, well, thanks, I guess. So how do you do this with greeters ministry? Well, what I would do is I would host an event that, like you said, because you need to change the culture of the greeters ministry, host an event that would treat your perhaps to-be greeters the exact same way that you want them to treat new guests who come to church. What I mean by that is host an event that people that you want to be greeters would really love. So let's say, for instance, you want a ton of greeters that are in their 30s to 40s and are dudes. Let's say that's what you want. Or 20s to 40s, 20s to 50s, whatever it is. Maybe you host this giant college football or NFL football game night where you invite them all out. The game is on the big screen. You've got tremendous food, and you just give them the time of their lives for that one night where it's just an amazing time hanging out with others, and they get to experience the game. They're experiencing the food, and all the pastors and the leadership team are just there to serve them. So the second they walk through the door, they're like, Chris, man, I'm so glad you made it. Hey, here's a big foam finger because we want you to really enjoy the game. Hey, pulled pork is already ready to go right over there. Game's being shown there. Hey, if there's anything you need, just let us know. And then they go over there, and then there's someone serving, another person on the pastoral staff or leadership team is serving them some pulled pork. And then they sit down to watch the game, and it's a ton of fun. And then maybe at halftime what you do is you come up and you're like, hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the game. Our team that we love is losing or winning, yay or boo. Anyway, what we wanted to tell you about is greeters ministry. And you may have noticed just the hospitality that you've experienced today. Like, I think when most of you came in, like Pastor Dan did a great job of really welcoming you. You got that foam finger. He handed you that thing. You immediately felt like, oh, this is fun. We've had some great food. We've had a lot of fun together. We want that same atmosphere. We want our new time visitors and our, just first time guests. We want them to feel that exact same thing. Yeah. And so what we'd love for you to do is just consider being part of our greeter ministry. Look, we need 10 greeters, and it's not like we're going to do anything crazy here, but I'd like to ask each one of you to just consider doing it because we need greeters and we want our new guests to feel exactly like you felt tonight. What this does, firstly, is it demonstrates to your recruits exactly what you expect from them. You can't expect culture to change or your volunteers to be different if you can't first lead them there or demonstrate how you want them to act.
Right.
Same way with how I lead Pro Church Tools. If I want my team to work hard and I want my team to love their work, I need to demonstrate that more than they do. That's why I'm here first. And that's why I work more. And that's why I love my work and work harder than they do. I don't expect them to do the same as I do. I'm the one in charge. But if I can lead them and show them by example what's needed, if they can get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% there, we are better for it. But I can't expect them to go where I haven't gone or am myself. Similarly, if you want your culture to change where it's more inviting, more open, more welcoming, you need to first demonstrate that to your recruits. Secondly, it plants in their head, oh, our church needs greeters. And I'm going to remember that because it was the only announcement, the only promotion, the only ask that you made all night, all day. And so they're not going to forget that. It's not going to get lost in an announcement from stage, and it feels personal to them because you're asking them, a certain demographic within the church. Now, what happens when no one responds or no one signs up? Because what you don't want to do is force people to sign up there. That's what you're going to be inclined to do. But no, just plant the seed there and then follow up one by one to people afterwards. So let's say you get 20 guys out to this. What I want you to do is either at church, over text, on Facebook, via the phone, get in touch one-to-one with each of these guys and then ask them face-to-face or ear-to-ear if you're over the phone, hey, remember when we talked about greeters? John, I'd love for you to be a part of it. Can you commit to doing it once a month? And that's where you go for the ask. Not from stage, where John can say, well, he doesn't mean me. But over the phone or face-to-face where John knows, we want you, John. And you know exactly what we want from you because we demonstrated it to you. And it's been in your head, even if it was in the back of your mind, because we said it as the only ask on that evening. And now John has the opportunity to either flat out say, no, I don't want to do that. And if so, you can always just pivot and ask him to do something else later, and you're still much more likely to get a yes from him. Or more likely, John's going to be like, yeah, I'm ready to try that out. And now, through this simple process where, you start with giving, depositing, and then you withdraw later, you've got all the greeters that you need, and they know exactly what they're expected to do because you did it first for them.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Question 3 comes from Sean. And he says, our creative department is too slammed to fill every request. When we tell ministries no, they usually just go off and create their own thing, and it's bad. Thus, we thought if the creative department created templates where people just fill in copy and images, we would be good. However, administrators hate InDesign and still go rogue. The number one tool they use is Publisher, which the creative department hates, and we have Macs, so we can't work with the files. Any suggestions for software and how to manage templates for non-designers?
Well, thanks for the question, Sean. It sounds like you have a couple of problems here. The first is not everyone is on the same page when it comes to timelines and expectations for creative work. And I think this, I'm going to get to the software that should help solve this in a pretty big way in a moment. But if you're not able to solve this underlying problem, you can fix the symptoms, but if you're not able to fix the disease underneath, new symptoms will arise. You can, quell one symptom, but another will just come up afterwards. So one thing that I think is super important and helpful for churches to do is to have a SOP, a standard operating procedure, a set of guidelines. You can create this in InDesign if you wanted. Sean, you and your creative team basically says, okay, if you want a graphic, it's going to take 1 business day, 1 work day. If you want a video, it's going to take 10 work days. If you want a social media post, it's going to take 3 work days. Whatever it might be, those are just random days that are put out there. Put it to paper and make sure everyone knows, okay, great. If I have the kids ministry and I need a social media post, I know I need to get it into them 3 days before I actually need it, at least. And then make sure everyone's on the same page. I think everyone, at least by the sounds of your question, is aware that this is a problem. You've got the ministries that aren't getting what they want, and you've got your creative team that is overwhelmed. So everyone knows this needs a solution. So this gives you the opportunity to put together this operating procedure, get everyone in a room, be like, okay, guys and gals, we want to fix this problem. First off, we need to have expectations. We need to all be on the same page for this is how long things take. I talked with my team. My name is Sean. I talked with my team, and I think that we are going to be able to sustainably produce content at this pace.
Right.
Get everyone to agree to it. And they'll agree to it because you can say, look, we don't want you to feel like when you ask for something, we're not going to get it to you, and we have to say no. We will no longer say no, but you need to abide by these deadlines and these time expectations and prerequisites. Once you've done that, now you don't have people going rogue, and now your team shouldn't be overwhelmed, assuming that you set dates that were proper and actually smart and not overly ambitious. Secondly, when it comes to actual software, InDesign is a beast, and even I don't like using it.
Yeah.
It's especially not great for graphics. It's good for print material. It's good for bulletins like PDFs, booklets, but it's really difficult to use, and it's not even very similar to Photoshop. I'll find a lot of the keyboard shortcuts or things that I expect. I'm like, Command T! Command T! And Command T means destroy in InDesign or something, So instead of moving an object, it just self-destructs. Sorry, your Mac is dead now. It just blows everything up. So I can understand why your administrators or people that have no design experience are having difficulty with InDesign. I would recommend something like Canva. Canva is free, I believe, for nonprofits. It's online, so everyone can have access to the same programs regardless of the operating system or the desktop, laptop, or mobile device that they're on.
Yeah.
And it is very straightforward and easy to use. Canva was something that we used when I was allowing others in Pro Church Tools to do designs that weren't designers. And I think Roxanne was a part of that. And how did you find it?
Yeah, it was super easy. And the one nice thing is that you're able to upload your colors and save it as your profile. So the colors that belong to your brand and the fonts that belong to your brand. So it was pretty simple to be this is exactly what I should be using. Yeah,
that's a great point. So again, for your administrators, executive pastors, other leaders that aren't super design conscious, who don't really know the difference between Montserrat, your main font, and Comic Sans, some cool font that they think looks sweet, you can set it in Canva. Okay, these are the 3 colors that we use. This is the font that we use.
Yeah.
Okay, this is our brand. Stay within it. And so I think those 2 things working in tandem will be big for you. Number 1, get your team on the same page with all the other teams and ministries in the church. And then number 2, you move from InDesign to something a little bit more universal and easy to use, such as Canva.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Last question comes from Russ, and he says, what would you suggest to do for a logo of a church that has a really long name? My church's name is Montgomery Memorial Baptist Church. We have a logo, but I cringe every time I look at it. It was created before I got involved in creating graphics for the church. We go by MMBC a lot, but would like the logo but would the logo need to include the entire name? I just need some direction before I start creating.
Thanks for the question, Russ. A lot of companies and churches in particular struggle with this, especially when you're a part, like you are. If you're a part of a denomination, like First United Methodist Church of, and then you put in your name. Like you're already working at a disadvantage at that point. So one of the easiest ways to do this, and there are a ton of different like design tips and tricks to kind of hide the length of your name in a logo, is to put the word that's most important as the big word, and then underneath put all the other words in a lot smaller of a font. So in your case, you could have Montgomery be the main word, and then you could put in Memorial Baptist Church underneath Montgomery, and then shrink the font's size on that second line in such a way that it's the same length as the full word Montgomery on the top line. This is one easy way to do it. You could also stylize your logo where you don't include the full name. Like a logo doesn't need to include the full name necessarily. It could just include Montgomery if that's what you go by. But with that being said, a lot of companies also go by acronyms. Like think about all the big TV brands, CBS, NBC. What's the other big one? Well, there's TNT. What's the third big one? NBC, CBS,
BBC,
CTV, CBC. Now we just went British and Canadian real hard on people.
I know. I don't know any other ones.
ABC. That's the other one.
Oh, yeah.
So like American Broadcasting Corporation. That's about as long as Montgomery Memorial Baptist Church. That's why they shrink it into an acronym. So if you go by MMBC, which I think is a pretty fun acronym, it has only 4 letters, and 2 of those letters are the same letter right next to each other, which is like perfect, MMBC. You could stylize that into a really cool acronym, and as long as that resonates similarly on the web and on social, you'll be able to use that as your main brand. Like, I don't even know what CBS stands for. Like, I could take a guess, and I guessed with ABC, and like TNT, I'm pretty sure it's like Turner Network Television, I think. And then what's the other one? NBC, that's probably National Broadcasting Corporation. But like, we only know them by their acronyms.
Yeah.
So those are your 2 options, I would say. 1, big Montgomery on the top line, small Memorial Baptist Church, same length on the bottom line, or just stylize that acronym and then be fully consistent going forward as MMBC. The key is you don't want to just go back and forth, right? This is what churches tend to do. We lack consistency. We want our cake and to eat it too. We think one day we're MMBC, and then but on websites and social we need to be Montgomery Memorial Baptist Church. No, stick with one. People can track it down and figure it out if they want. But if your logo is MMBC, have that be your logo and just go with it. Stay consistent. Awesome. Well, that does it for this 37th episode of the Ask Brady Show. If you want your question answered, you can always send in your video to hello@prochurchtools.com. It's the first episode in a while where we didn't have a video question.
It's true.
It is what it is. If you want your question answered first, send in a video. We'll put it immediately at the top of the queue, and your question will be answered ahead of everyone else's. Of course, you can send in a text question, as the 4 questions on this 37th episode were. Same email, hello@prochurchtools.com, or you can hashtag Ask Brady on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram, and we'll track down your question that way. With that being said, go seize the 167 Pro Church Nation. You're the best. We'll talk soon.